Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Quick History. Today we're going to be taking a look at the second video of the Gallipoli campaign, focusing this time on trench warfare on the peninsula. As always, there's a free handout in the description below, and make sure you click on subscribe if you'd like to see more GCSE history based revision content. Let's get into the details. Under the command of General Sir Ian Hamilton, the Allied forces began their attack on the Gallipoli Peninsula on the 25th of April 1915. Despite some initial successes when they landed on the beaches, the Allies soon found themselves in a very difficult position. The Turks, who knew they were coming, were firing at them with rifles and machine guns from the cliff tops high above. This meant that to protect themselves and to protect the future men coming ashore, the Allies were forced to do the one thing which they didn't want to do, which was to dig trenches. Just as had happened on the Eastern Front and on the Western Front, the Gallipoli campaign soon became bogged down in trench warfare and stalemate. Life in the trenches in the Gallipoli Peninsula was horrendous. In the heat of the Turkish summer, the Allies found it very difficult to source food and water, and whatever food and water they were able to source was often contaminated by rats and by fleas. As a result, over 80% of Allied soldiers on the Gallipoli Peninsula contracted the disease dysentery, and at any given time it was likely that only half of the soldiers on the peninsula were able to fight physically. The Allies continued to try and land troops on the peninsula to try and force a breakthrough and clear the forts, including famously at Suvla Bay. Unfortunately, however, for the Allies, the Turks continued to beat them back. Because they had the high ground and they knew that were coming, the Turks simply turned on machine gun fire and rifle fire to beat the Allies back. The campaign continued until October 1915, when Hamilton was replaced by General Monro. General Monro went to Gallipoli and inspected the troops in the trenches there, and with facing a cold Turkish winter, decided that the order should be given to withdraw. Life in the trench was bad in the summer. In the winter, with the cold Turkish winters, frostbite was developing and there was no end in sight to the campaign. It didn't look like the Allies were going to be able to get off the beaches to clear the forts to allow the Navy to continue. It has been said that after Monro gave the order to withdraw, the only success of the Gallipoli campaign was that 80,000 soldiers were evacuated without a single death. The aftermath of the Gallipoli campaign for the Allies was disastrous. The Russians were still short supplied until 1917, as the northern route to Murmansk was still having to be used until Russia withdrew from the war after the Russian Revolution. Likewise, the Third Front was never opened and the Germans and Austrians continued to fight on the Eastern Front and on the Western Front successfully. To make matters worse, the Bulgarians actually joined the war on the side of the Ottomans, meaning that the Allies had even more troops to deal with rather than fewer. This also came at a cost of 200,000 Allied lives. It was the end of Churchill's tenure as First Lord of the Admiralty and nearly the end of his career. Gallipoli was a tremendous failure. Join me in the next video where we're going to be taking a look at the war at sea. I'll see you there.